Hey, all right, friends. Hopefully, you all came back. If not, I completely understand what what's a mess that was. Hopefully, I sound better. You guys tell me if I sound good or not, if it's smoother or not. Um, I will watch the chat to see if it's come back or not. Let's pop this out. Sounds better. Good. Pop out that chat. Let's get rid of my face. I don't want to see my face. No more face. Now everything's a little wonky. So, hey, nothing like a little growing pains, right, guys? Sounds a little better. But I guess the question is it dropping out? 'Cause that's what I don't want. I don't want any dropouts. So, okay, very good. All right. So where were we? Let me get a few things back since I had to tear some stuff down to make this work. Let's get hmm, okay, let's go here and grab this guy here and now KVM. Thank you. All right. So we're looking at this guy here. Um, all right. That doesn't work. Good. Fantastic. Back at it, back in the saddle. Ladies and gentlemen, round two, better than round one. We can't all um time to upgrade the streaming machine, I think. Okay. Okay, so back to this. Looking at the back of this guy, and I know that Jason's lab, he's in the chat, had mentioned too that I think he's got one as well. This still feels like we're missing the stuff that I want. Like I'm assuming that there's a bunch of additional connectivity that comes off this RJ11, which we'll find out when I actually open the box and look at it. But this single HDMI port just feels I do not Grish, welcome. I just feel like it's a missed opportunity. Like, why are we not putting ins and outs on these? I mean, it must be expensive. Yeah, I don't know where that power control is gonna come from this. I'm assuming that there's you can get your mouse and keyboard out of this, but I'm not gonna get to open that up. But the that's the nice thing about the nano KVM, right? That this guy here is let's go back up to the all of those ports, like all this stuff. And because it's inside, you can put it straight into the rainbow wire. So we'll see. But yeah, it's either HDMI licensing or it's related somehow to uh, HDC, whatever the high definition copy protection, like all that kind of junk. I feel like HDMI is a bit of a mess. So just getting it and converting it seems to be one job, and then from there, then it's like okay, then getting it and be latency wonderful, outstanding, interesting. Okay, well, let's see if this might be the Google Chrome's problem. Let me go back to take this away for a second here. All right. Okay. So hopefully that's a little bit better. Spoke too soon. Good times, guys. At any rate, so yeah, with the Jet KVM stuff, I don't want to get pulled in by its looks because it is so pretty and so nice. Everyone who looks at it says it's wonderful. It's like it feels like a finished product, like an Apple Watch, KVM. But but yeah, so definitely, like, I'm gonna do a video or put these things together and just kinda compare them, for apples to see which and plug into I've got an old workstation that is used just it's the because remember when I did a video on a teapot to do, basically a honeypot stuff. I'm gonna throw it in that box and see. I'm about to, dude, I'm about to curse quite a bit here. This has been, yeah, it's run it we might have to do this straight through, before when we were doing our live shows, we'd push it through, uh what's it called? We push it through the OBS, and now I'm using Streamlab and or excuse me, not Streamlab, but StreamYard. And maybe there's an issue with StreamYard. Like every 2.5, that's very accurate. Every 2.5. Well, crap. Um, I'm not sure if we should just call this then and then continue on to another next week and get this fixed in the meantime. That would be a real bummer, but say la vie. It's the reality of it. Uh, What if I turn this off and this off, this off? Great. Thanks, John. Appreciate that. That's exactly what I want to see. Is like, hopefully this is a little bit better. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if this is cleans up. But we'll move on here. Let's just kind of we'll do a quick wrap up. Hopefully this cleans up and stays yeah better for now. We'll see. But we have a Discord, and I don't like to overly advertise stuff, right? That's not my gig. But but I want to say that because we have a Discord, and the questions that I've got here to talk about, because I got some interesting questions from the guys on Discord, and I want to we'll just go through those and talk about them, and definitely weigh in, because this is going to be one of those topics that I know a lot of people are also going to have opinions about. But let's talk about the question that was asked was, what is my opinion on the drama between LTT and GN? So LTT, Linus Tech Tips, GN, Gamer Nexus, right? So take a pause there for a minute. And I have watched all of it. I watched the most recent. I guess the last thing I watched was on the WAN show when Linus kind of finally did his rebuttal to the whole deal, and it is just incredibly messy and ugly. And I am not sure who actually benefits from it anymore. Here you go. Look at that, Brandon. Got that thing up there that says. And so it is. I think that it definitely benefits both of them in terms of like viewership and clicks, but it also kind of feels like Steve has definitely got something, a vendetta of sorts for Linus for some reason, and maybe there's some backstory we don't know about. But like, it's definitely been said that Gamer Nexus has made some really great exposés, really great like I would say journalistic quality pieces, like although I laugh at the time. I try to make people remember that time that he went after Newegg, and I remember watching the video where he essentially grabbed a camera and ran up to the Newegg corporate headquarters and basically yelled at the building. So there was that. But yeah, it's just this, like, it doesn't serve anybody anymore, and so I'm not sure. But definitely tell me what you guys think, because that's kind of a it's just ugly. And like, I know that one of the big complaints that Steve has against Linus is that he goes about things with a air of factual certainty when he makes his claims, right? And so that's part of the thing, that if he's wrong about those, he's stating that they're true. And Steve is very much this is the truth, this is the hard line. Therefore, if you fall anywhere outside of that, you need to be called to task for it. But yeah, so certainly interesting drama. So, and you're right. And as Eric said, their drama sells 100%. It's not hurting their viewership, right? You can guarantee that. So that's take it for what it is. But hopefully when I turned off the other feeds and sources, things got better in terms of audio. But yeah, I mean, that's fair. Like, unless you like the drama of it, why bother with any of it? It's kind of a, with all the things in the world that we have to worry about in terms of like just getting around and stuff. And like, do we need more drama on the YouTubes? Like, what was Brandon's big joke is big YouTubers drama. Okay, move on. That's something else. But yeah, what does it say? Audio is what? Okay, that must be those browser windows then, guys. That's got to be what that is. We will fix that next stream in a week. That'll be fun. Next question, Brandon, if you could bring it up, let's talk about what GPU I recommend for Plex servers and why. There it is. Okay, so full disclosure, in my Plex server downstairs, and my Plex I run Plex in a VM, and that I do that intentionally, mostly because that's just the way I've always done it. Before before containerization was kind of like the go-to for a lot of things and kind of a standard practice for a lot of services. I ran Plex in a VM. It was it was mobile that way. I could migrate it between virtual hosts and it was fine. And it's still running that way. It's just running now on Proxmox versus being in VMware. So I passed through a 3070 because I have it. And the 3070, I wrote down in my notes like I can reliably do 5 to 10 streams concurrently. That's only because that's the max I've ever been needed to do. So to be clear, it likely can handle far more than that, but it's also a lot of money, and a lot of people want something that is like the best that they can buy affordably and throw in a machine. And so still to this day, I still think that the Arc Intel Arc A310 chipset or graphics card has been. I mean, Brandon's using one in his, and he's getting great use out of it. It's cheap; like you can get one for like $100, and it's a single slot, so you can put it in anything. If you've got a minis forum uh, system, or you need something with compact space, you can't beat that. Versus my 3070 is a 2U GPU, right? So it's got all of this like required space and additional power, and that's a kind of a killer, kind of a big killer in terms of power consumption. Or yeah, let's move this over here, guys. I'm gonna look like I'm looking away, but I'm just looking at the screen over here. Yeah, so Levix, you're right. That was I have a note here, and that is honestly, like when I look at the streams that are going on these days, I just don't see a lot of transcoding happening. There must have been a point in the recent past when enough refreshes happened in like televisions and mobile devices and browsers that it now doesn't seem like most stuff even cares. Like I'm seeing whatever my content is, it typically natively plays as a direct stream, and so that's I'm seeing it less and less and less. And is Fuse worth it for playback? In what regard? Hit me. Let me know what you mean by that, Eric. Can I store Proxmox? Yeah, that's this is how I started too. I absolutely started the same way. I think a lot of people's first experience with like Plex was going the DLNA route and being like, I can do this thing, and then like finding Plex and running it on a Synology NAS or something like that as not even as a container, but as a like feature from their app store that installs natively on the NAS. So that's the way. I don't know if I can answer this question honestly. I have I have very few code, very few of the video files that I have are I would consider like non-native, and everything seems to be playing fine. So, when transcodes in someone with, yeah, you guys absolutely. So, um, and that's true too. Like on mobile devices, that's where I think I see it the most. Although I've seen some Roku, like the Roku Gear. You guys can tell me if you've, in terms of like your streamers who are using Roku Gear, the Roku Gear seems like it is just the worst. It's like I've seen it be on a 4K TV and dial it back to like 320 because it just for some reason it just doesn't really handle it very well. But that's me. I wanted to hit. I saw a good one up here. I wanted to. Can you store Proxmox VMs on an NFS share? New to Proxmox using? Yes, you can. You need to make sure that those mounts are available. You'll need to use um, Proxmox to set up that NFS share, but you can absolutely do that. That's it. That's kind of a your typical what we call a two-tier kind of virtualization and storage separate, right? You don't have to be hyper-converged. That's absolutely is able to do that. But jails are dead. Jails are dead, Jason. Yeah, that's you gotta move on to. Are you? I guess the question is if you tried it in, yeah, because it was core, so it was running. I have hopefully you've moved to scale because I full disclosure I'm 100% sure that core is end of life, right? That's core is basically in the long train out to end of life and deprecatedville. So make sure you are definitely running it in a container, or I guess get in TrueNAS scale first. I guess that's the thing. No, I never have. Well, that's not to answer that question, Eric. Technically, before I went with I was a Synology person, kind of through and through, and I used to use Synology for iSCSI, even for connecting up to ESXi, and I had fine performance, but obviously those are mechanical disks, so your mileage may vary. But um, so I did initially run TrueNAS Core and TrueNAS Scale as VMs, so they were basically virtualized in a way to get familiar with them. But if you and you can still do that, right? There's the anyone who's using those will tell you that the true value in using TrueNAS is that it has ZFS, and ZFS gives you all of these additional features, which really only are unlocked when you have multiple disks as part of it, right? So if you feed it a giant virtual VMDK or virtual disk to it, then you have none of the actual benefits of what ZFS gives you in terms of like fault tolerance, redundancy, and that stuff. You still get the bigger things, like you get your performance, everything dumping into RAM. But I would highly recommend that you don't. But it's doable. They even support it, and I know that IX Systems will support that in terms of like if you are a business and you're doing this, they'll give you support. But it's not what they would recommend. So I got to know what you mean by this. Like you got so angry, you're like, "That's it. I'm getting off of this." Because I mean, or do you mean in terms of like now you're running LXC containers, and then that's somewhat kind of like a jail? And I guess in a way that's analogy, right? There are so many questions coming in, and it's so fast. So I apologize. I'm just getting to you guys as I can. Um, do. I have been trying to. I've been trying to move into kind of a 50-50 approach. So I mentioned it before, like my background being in virtualization, in infrastructural virtualization, meant that, the problem was this is how you solve it. You solve it with a virtual machine. And I get that there's all of the overhead of the OS. I get all the overheads that come from like the redundancy of having operating systems on there, right? I get that. So these days I've been trying really hard to use LXC where appropriate, use Docker containers where appropriate, and then use virtual machines where they're appropriate. And there are just some things that are never going to change. Like you, I mean, I don't ever believe that there's going to be a time that if you're running a virtual firewall, it's not going to be an LXC container firewall. It's not going to be a Docker container. These things are doable, right? I think that it doesn't make sense to break that hard barrier. And I still struggle with the concept of LXC being very close to the kernel of the hypervisor, and that does make me feel a little weird. We can argue all day long about whether it's actually a real risk to have, software running in that regard, but I do know that in virtualization with virtual machines, you have a hard barrier between the two, right? You have the hypervisor's abstraction, and the virtual machine is only functionally able to get in there, and only under weird circumstances could it break free of that into beyond. So, but yeah, that's so I've been using both. Like I just with the Prox, we didn't even talk about Proxmox PDM, um, but like with PDM, perfect makes sense to run an LXC container, and it was fast. Like that whole video. I feel like the video, the longer part of it was like the command lines, but you can just copy pasta it and boom, it's up, right? So it's that, and LXCs are fast. They really are. Let's do some. I'd be interested to know. So drop in the chat like what sort of things you can't get to work. I know that I've heard stories of certain things not working depending on how they're deployed. But I, if you just roll a straight LXC container of like Ubuntu or whatever your flavor of Linux is, and then put your things inside of it, do you still have those problems? Because that from a from a from an abstracted standpoint, it seems like they would work fine. But yeah, what else do we want to talk about, guys? Like we Again, sorry. I apologize for how complicated the first half of this is. We will get that fixed. I will be getting that fixed ASAP. But um, say la vie. First times. That's what I'm saying. It's first times. You run TrueNAS and Docker on VMs. Interesting. So then, Jason, from that perspective, what's your logic for doing so? Because it feels like you could swap that around the opposite way, right? You could run TrueNAS and then run everything inside of that in terms of virtualization. And now that they're natively supporting Docker in the later versions of TrueNAS Scale, which is awesome because Kubernetes was a little much. But I have not heard of Incus container platform. Let's look it up. Let's see if probably cause this thing to do its crasheroonie again though. So stand by. All right. So if I just okay, you guys let me know if this thing gets sideways again, and I will stop presenting because it's probably going to go sideways here. Let's look at this and share and okay, cool. Let's go back here. Let's look at Incus. Next generation system container application container and virtual machine manager. So it sounds like it's a whole litany of different. Do you have any? I would like to see some screenshots. Show me what this looks like. This is news to me. So I can try it online. Guys, let's go try it online. What do you say? Okay, you saw me read that. Don't tell me you didn't see me read that. Harmonics cluster. Okay, so you're just giving me access to the container or a VM. So it's just running Ubuntu. Okay, well that doesn't. I want to see the user interface. That's what I want to see. That's what gives me the most. No images, storage. Okay, so this looks like it's an entire like this whole thing here looks like it's kind of focused at being an all-in-one virtualization platform for everything. Okay, I'm gonna have to look at this up. So actually, I have not seen this before, so I will add it to my list of like things to dig into. The big question for me is it open source? Is it commercial product? Like, what is its licensing? What is their approach here? Do, do, do. So this looks like it's entirely. I read this being licensed under Creative Commons tells me that this is an open source project. So, yeah, I'm going to add that to my list of stuff to dig into. So that's awesome. Thank you for that. That's anytime I can get an opportunity to discover a new virtualization platform, I'm going to do it. Oh, sorry, I missed that one, Brandon. I do. I leverage Ansible primarily for doing. So I haven't dipped my toes in Terraform. I have I haven't had a reason to dip my toes into Terraform. I have been doing lots of Ansible stuff, but only on the periphery stuff. Like my virtualization, all my VMs that are running in my hypervisor, all of them are essentially on automated update cycles that are being invoked by Ansible playbooks that are built, run, they do the thing, and they give me the answer back of the success or failure and that kind of stuff. So that's the extent of it. There's been a lot of like the Ansible stuff, like I don't have a dog in the fight with the Red Hat stuff. So I know that there's a lot of people who got really upset when Red Hat did Red Hat things and so like I still see Ansible as a viable basically means of controlling and deploying stuff, but still haven't touched Terraform. There's another one too that looks like it's I can't remember the name of it, but there's a lot of options out there, which is nice to see. All right. Open tofu. That's it. Thank you. Yeah. It's open tofu. That was it. It's like what is that one? It's right there. Ray Knight says, "What's the best free networking monitoring software? Easiest app to manage? Zabbix, OpenNMS seems to be heavy lift." I just saw it in the chat, and because Grish just said it, it's sorry, not Ansible. Sorry, it wasn't that. It's where's that here? NetData. NetData is where it's at. Like NetData is. I think I have a NetData instance we can look at real quick. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. NetData can install everywhere and anywhere, and you don't need to plug it into their cloud. Let's see if I've got my NetData. Stand by. Let's go to my Proxinator. Cool. All right, let's get over here and over here. Pop this up. Cool. All right. Let's get logged in here. Let's see, just double check this is working. Let's get up on the screen. Sorry. There we go. So I have been testing out using, where's my monitoring machine? What's my IP address on this guy? Stand by. I've got so many machines on here. I gotta look and see what it's. What address is this running on? 1.4. Okay. Let's see if we can get this guy up here. All right. I'll have to look it up. I don't want to keep you guys on wasting that time. I've been using NetData as a way to kind of keep track of stuff, and it's like it's been okay. It's the thing is it just works. I wish it was let's go here. One. Where's that address? I gotta look at my stuff. I don't even remember my address off the top of my head. Let's go. Okay. And let's go here. Log in, and then we'll get to this, and we'll go look at it. There we go. All right. Boom. And the boom. Okay. Cool. Did it automatically pop up? Yes, it did. Outstanding. So can tell I'm still running on the old login requirements since it says root instead of admin. But if we go look at here and we go look at my apps, I've got NetData running. We can just click on this guy here. And where's my output of this? What do I? Okay, still should be seeing that. Just gotta double check. No, we're not. We need to switch over. That's nice. All right, stand by. Let's go kill that, and let's go add it again through a different tab. Okay, so here's NetData. And let's go look at the system. So they've changed this quite a bit. They added this dashboard now, which is a nice way. It used to be just this continuous scroll, and it's such an easy, simple way to do it. And they have their free, like NetData's got a free free tier. If you sign up, you can point all of your systems that are running NetData, whether they're containers or fat installs, straight in there, and then yeah, and then you can get all that stuff. And I have it monitoring my UPS, for example. Like there's plugins for NetData to do a whole bunch of stuff in terms of like monitoring the UPS. Like every time my UPS does a self test, it sends me some notifications. So it's definitely been nice, and it's easy. Um, but I will say I used to use, and I don't anymore because it just essentially broke. Is I want to caution you not to go down the road of using um, Grafana and going that route, because that Prometheus and Grafana route is painful. It's not fun. So yeah, do that. That's my answer to that. If you want to use, look, this is the simplest thing, and I know they have a HomeLab version, because we did a full disclosure. We did like a sponsor read for them, and they have a HomeLab version that gives you a bunch of different uh, additional features for a monthly rate, and their rates were they seemed reasonable. But if you don't need to do that, don't spend money on it. Then just just run it locally and just connect to it, and you know do what I do. Have a Heimdall container where you have all of your links to all your dashboards, and then you're fine, right? You're good to go. What else we got? What are we doing on? How are we doing on time too? Want to make sure we stick to our thing we're doing. Actually, we believe it or not, guys, we reached the hour. So let's do this again. I've said it a million times. We will get things fixed so we don't have those issues next time. But I want to say thank you so much for being here for this first, uh, mostly successful live show. We will be doing this weekly, and once we get all the bugs and the errata out of the system, then we'll be good to go. I hope to see you guys again next time. Brandon's throwing up like go to our Discord. I don't people coming in and out of here, they may not have been there before, but Terry, you have a great night too. Join our Discord. It's a great place to hang out with us. You can talk to us all day long. And What Time Weekly, we're going to be doing this. I'm on the West Coast, and this the toughest part of this is like being on the West Coast and being like, most of the rest of the world has gone to bed. So 5:30 on the West Coast, Pacific time, minus GMT -8 on Tuesdays. You will find us, and so I hope to see you guys back at that time. And if not, get in the Discord. We got a great group of people, and thank you guys. We will see you next week.